the computer. Man, you are quick, honey bunny. Very, very fast. I'm amazed. You were basically back. I saw your comment before the your live notification went off on my computer screen.
Let me know when everybody's back.
Well, we only had 9 people last I looked.
Huh. Quiet night.
Yeah. Yeah, I was looking at Flower Gold Wizards tonight. It was like posted 5 hours ago. We already had like 1.6 thousand views. Dude knows how to play the algorithms. Uh, I'm perfectly happy with these very a limited number of people, as I only have so much time in the day. Possibly, honey. Hey, Graham. Yeah. Um, say I like keeping it small and comfortable, so to speak. Oh, absolutely, David. I agree completely. Do you wake up before the sun? I usually wake up when the sun is pretty low in the sky. But I agree, honey bunny. Um, I typically wake up between 6, 7:30. Like tomorrow morning, I got to get up at 7, so I set an alarm. If I had to be somewhere by 9, I rarely worry about an alarm. Uh, yeah, honey bunny. One time it was funny. I was in Phoenix doing a kettle corn event, and it was like 4 o'clock in the morning because I had to get set up and this and that and the other. And I'm going to I don't know, the breakfast restaurant, whatever. And I'm looking at the moon, and I'm going, wait a minute. That's not what I should be seeing at 4 o'clock in the morning. The the illumination is wrong. And I'm just staring at this. It's like, what the hell? Am I going crazy or whatever? My brain, I studied astronomy a little bit and everything. And it's like, sun's over there, the moon should look like this, and it looks like that. And that's the sort of thing you should see in the evening, not the morning. So I went in there and I said, by the way, does anyone know if there's a lunar eclipse right now? And somebody says, yeah, there's a. Like, okay, that explains it. But yeah, that was kind of disorienting. Yeah, that makes sense. Honey bunny. Oh, it looks like Eva's here. Oh,
And I have an announcement.
uh-oh.
The dude braided my hair. He's never going to be a great hairdresser. But look at this. Another 4 years, and it may get down to my waist. It is the longest it has ever been in my life. I will admit, this braid probably looks a little bit sketchy. I mean, just saying. Honey bunny, I was convinced my hair was never going to get any longer. Yeah. My hair has been growing. This is bizarre. It's wonderful stuff. Okay? Makes me very happy. So let's see what we got here. Somewhere there is some news, I am sure. Yeah, David. So let's see. Northern Dynasty's Pebble Copper Project gains more time. Well, what do you know? Every once in a while, something good comes out of this thing. Northern Dynasty Minerals will have to wait until the end of the week to hear the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers' comments on future plans regarding the company's Pebble Copper Project in southwest Alaska. The Canadian miner said the body's Alaska district had requested a second extension of 45 days to June 29th to decide whether or not the miner can proceed with permitting the copper gold molybdenum project. Pebble has been on a roller coaster of regulations for the past 15 years. Yep. Wow, that's not much time at all, now is it? Former U.S. President Barack Obama opposed the project, and his successor, Donald Trump, ultimately did as well, deeming it too risky. The goddess can absolutely see the point. The goddess has looked at this place. It's gorgeous. President Joe Biden has openly expressed his opposition to the project, taking steps as soon as he took the post in 2021 to permanently protect Alaska's Bristol Bay. As part of the administration's measures against Pebble, the U.S. Environmental Protection Agency blocked the company in January from storing mine waste in the state's watershed, home to the world's largest sockeye salmon fisheries. Well, yeah, I can see the point there. Northern Dynasty has since raised doubts about its ability to continue if it's unable to raise the necessary capital for the project and continue the permitting process for the mine. The Pacific Ocean Division of the Army Corps agreed in April to take another look at its refusal in 2020 to approve the project after Northern Dynasty successfully appealed the decision. For decades, explorers and developers have been attracted to resource rich southwestern Alaska, known for holding significant deposits of coal, gold, copper, molybdenum, and other minerals near the headwaters of two rivers flowing into Bristol Bay. But conservationists, local activists, fishermen, and federal regulators have argued that industrial open pit mining operations to extract the lode threatens the region's thriving sockeye salmon fishery. If and when the mine moves into production, it would be the largest in North America. The goddess is divided on this issue. The goddess has looked at all the information she can find on this mine. Granted, they're going a little bit further to try to protect the environment than a lot of open pit mines do. But given the nature of the environment they want to put it in, the goddess actually doesn't think they're going far enough. And that is coming from someone who would dearly love to see our domestic mining industry come back from the dead. I would love to see smelters opening up all around the country. I would love to see critical metals and minerals being mined in the United States again, rather than being NIMBY'd to Africa, China, and places where they have no environmental regulations at all. But the goddess is also looking at the fact that several salmon fisheries in Alaska over the last couple of years have experienced unexplained population crashes in fish. And Bristol Bay is still the largest and best managed sockeye salmon fishery in the world. So the goddess is divided on this. I deeply and sincerely hope that if they get the permits and the permits stick, they go the extra mile to do this right. Because no, I don't think that this is a place where in situ leaching, for instance, would be a great idea. I also don't think this is a place where dumping all kinds of waste all over the place would be a good idea. I would like to see them do something like we're doing on a large scale. Vat leaching, tank leaching.
We've got to get rid of the tailings.
Fully contained tailings. We shall see what we shall see and see what happens in there. Meanwhile, how gold nanoparticles help detect COVID-19.
No!
Just a reminder, COVID-19 is an incredibly dangerous, horrific disease that can absolutely 1 zillion% kill you by next Tuesday. At least 1 in every 10 million people that might happen to. Therefore, you need to get your boosters, preferably like every month, maybe even every 6 weeks. You could get away with it. And don't forget the 4 masks all the time. Masks while you're driving alone in your car. Totally. We all know this by now, I'm pretty sure. A new adhesive bandage, a band-aid no less, infused with gold nanoparticles, can quickly detect COVID-19 antibodies in a person's bloodstream. Developed by researchers at NYU Abu Dhabi. Really now?
NYU Abu
Yeah.
Dhabi.
The bandage technology is affordable and easy to use. It is able to identify the IgM and IgG antibodies, which are naturally produced as a result of SARS-CoV-2 infection, and therefore serve as valuable biomarkers. The test can be used at home by applying the special adhesive bandage to a pinprick fingertip. It works with gold nanoparticles, which are 1/1000th of a meter in diameter. 1/1000th of a meter. What would 1/1000th of a meter be, Professor Hardrock?
A nanometer.
Okay. And have specific keys called antigens attached to them that are unique to SARS-CoV-2.
Ooh.
These keys are engineered using nanotechnology approaches to recognize and bind to IgM and IgG antibodies with high specificity and sensitivity, paralleled with key lock mechanisms. Oh, really now? When this occurs, a color change indicates within minutes the individual's infection status. Not infected or infected with early immune, active immune, or immune responses. Moving forward, we will explore the potential of this technology in detecting and screening other emerging viral infections. We also plan to incorporate biodegradable porous microneedles in the bandage, enabling efficient finger pricking via in situ puncturing. Mohamedine Deliorman, one of the authors of the study that describes the device, said in a media statement. For Deliorman and his co-authors, real-time screening of viral infections using tests like the adhesive bandage can play a crucial role in preventing future outbreaks and pandemics by enabling early detection. If the large-scale uses of such adhesive bandage tests is combined with smartphone readouts and dedicated mobile apps, it opens up possibilities for generating location-based heat maps, by local governments and health authorities to allow for the early identification of infected individuals, including those who are asymptomatic. Yes, Professor?
Wouldn't microneedles that reach your bloodstream also be an interesting way to introduce something into your bloodstream?
Be quiet. Lead researcher Mohammad Qassemi said, by promptly isolating and treating these individuals, the spread of the virus can be significantly reduced, preventing it from reaching a larger population. So now the goddess has to add the humble band-aid to the list of things that she needs to side-eye very carefully when somebody offers her one, I suppose.
What have people been offering you?
Well, there were a few people around here that was sweet-talking me. Though they did say that I'm sweet enough that I don't need sugar. So Newmont declares force majeure on Peñasquito deliveries. Yeah. Basically, not going to get into that one right now, but the ongoing mine closure at Peñasquito is going to be causing a lot of problems for Newmont. And we have several other um, mines in various places that are also having their problems this week with labor, staffing, safety, etc. The mining environment worldwide is going to be extremely dynamic this year. In other random news that may or may not have anything to do with mining, things are getting a little bit bizarre in South Africa. Now, I don't know if anybody's noticed this lately, but for some time now, the glorious, free, and wonderful nation of South Africa has been experiencing a slow and devastating infrastructure collapse to the point where a lot of areas of the country are lucky if they have electric power, for a few hours here, there, and everywhere. And plumbing is breaking down, and sewage is breaking down, and roads are breaking down. And, well, now it turns out the water delivery system is beginning to break down too. Interestingly enough, the National African National Congress. What do they call themselves over there?
There's an
leaders.
African National Congress.
The leaders are having a few difficulties with things. They have recently passed some laws that naturally and absolutely appropriately have made your access to water use based on race. Just as they also do for certain jobs, a whole lot of emergency services, and extra power. And that makes perfect sense. After all, they do have a long history of apartheid. It's just going a different direction than it used to, apparently. But they are making puzzled noises over there at the moment, trying to figure out why it is that some parts of the country tend to be a whole lot more orderly, a lot lower crime, and shit is holding together a lot better than in other parts of the country. Apparently, it's a tribal thing of some kind or another. We may never figure out the whole story behind that one. That's just one of those things. As we all know, that's one of those things. But it is definitely going to affect the mining industry in South Africa. As it stands already, South African mines have been having serious troubles maintaining stable operational levels in not as much in the diamond mines as in the gold mines and a few other places. The diamond cartels are really good about keeping those mines working properly. But this is not the only country in Africa that is experiencing slow infrastructure collapse. And the place that it is going to cause problems for everybody else in the world is in the industrial side of things, in the mining. So you might want to start keeping an eye on those people down in South Africa. It's a little bit bizarre what's going on there. Can't figure that one out, really. And being a crackhead is now an acceptable excuse to commit tax fraud in America. In case you missed that news, it turns out that a certain gentleman named Hunter, who had a laptop that's full of all kinds of criminal activity, but of course that was all Russian information, disinformation, and stuff like that. Well, a certain gentleman called Hunter recently had a child support hearing, and we're going a little bit background on this one. This Hunter individual had a baby with a baby mama that was like an ex stripper or maybe an ex prostitute or maybe both. Pretty little girl who's now like 4 or 5 years old. The baby mama had been trying to get child support out of this Hunter dude, who is a very famous crackhead and an equally famous modern artist whose paintings sell for $250,000 or more a piece to anonymous buyers every single time. Cash sales every single time. Go figure that crap out, okay? It's bizarre and unaccountable. So, at any rate, this Hunter gentleman was actually told by a judge that no, even if you are poor as the proverbial church mouse, as you're claiming, you can't have your custody hearing in flyover country where all the rednecks are over the internet. Redneckery is unfortunately not contagious. If being a redneck were contagious, we wouldn't be in the mess we're in right now. But that's an entirely different story. So Hunter was told he actually had to attend his hearing in person. Isn't that ridiculous? So anyway, he bebops on this private jet, $20,000 a flight hour, to fly over country, middle of nowhere, to attend this hearing so that he can tell the judge that he is poor as the proverbial church mouse, and on top of that, he does not want this child to be able to use his last name. The long and short of the situation was Hunter was able to get his child support cut by about $15K a month, and the kid is not allowed to use his last name at all. So the baby mama kind of lost her case. But in the middle of all this, it turns out that this dude has been being investigated by none other than the IRS.
No.
Now, mind you, this is the same IRS that has been bitching for years because a certain Reverend Al Sharpton has owed them like $4.5 million plus penalties and then some, and never quite paid it off. And this is the same IRS that has stolen people's homes and sold them for pennies on the dollar, and then come back and taken everything else they had to pay $25,000 tax bills. So, in a startling denouement, Hunter was actually found guilty of tax evasion of a sort. And the lawyers were shocked and appalled and disgusted because his penalty, which is paying several $1,000,000, is far harsher than most people would get for this. Okay? Just so we know. So there we are with Hunter having to pay off a couple $1,000,000. A few questions were never answered in this very interesting little court case. Everyone is in agreement that Hunter actually owed probably about 12 mil, and he actually has to pay about 2 mil. Nobody is in agreement, or nobody has mentioned at least, where in that large pile of tax forms does it detail this money that he owed the taxes on.
You mean like where it came from?
Yeah, that seems to be unaccountably vague. Like many things that our dear friend Hunter does that were not recorded on his laptop, that are felonies. It's pretty damn vague, actually. Just saying that. At least he is going to pay, well, at least he has been told he must pay something. Whether he actually pays anything or not, either in terms of child support or in terms of the IRS, well, who knows? I certainly don't know. But in the meantime, you may have noticed gold and silver are still on sale. Today, gold closed at around $1,923.90. It's down $22 over the 30 days, but up almost $100 over the year. Silver closed down at $22.81, so it's still on sale. Back up the truck, back up the truck. Gold is rattled by central bank's rate outlook. But geopolitics could reignite the price rally, according to analysts. Analysts, mind you, here. Yeah, all banking going through the IRS is very much a lot sketchy. Kodak. I am doing a deep dive on where we are on the central bank digital currency thing here. It's going to be an entirely separate thing on its own because The weeds on that one are getting dangerous, but we still have some things to discuss in the matter on that, which I can get into today. The gold market is looking to end June around $47 down, the worst month since February. The precious metal is reacting to central banks doubling down on hawkish rhetoric and ignoring Russia's turmoil. Yeah, we're not even going to talk about the purported turmoil there. Okay. Some analysts see geopolitics as playing a more significant role in driving gold price. After a volatile weekend which saw an aborted mutiny in Russia, led by Yevgeny Prigozhin, the leader of armed Wagner mercenaries, gold was trading just $5 higher on the day. The goddess sincerely hopes nobody here actually believed that mutiny story. I mean, that would just be pathetic, people. Come on now. Markets are still confused as to how to digest the news from Russia, with Prigozhin stating Monday he never intended to overthrow the government, yet his whereabouts remain unknown. Well, he said he was going to be retiring to a dacha in Belarus. That was the deal, anyway. We went as a demonstration of protest, not to overthrow the government of the country. Funny, Julius Caesar said the same thing once, but that's another story. Prigozhin said in an 11-minute audio message, our march showed many things we discussed earlier, the serious problems with security in the country. We halted the moment the first assault unit deployed its artillery near Moscow, conducted reconnaissance, and realized a lot of blood would be spilled. Yeah, right. The gold market has not seen a big move from increased geopolitical uncertainty, folding under the pressure of a global push by central banks to keep its tightening cycle engaged. August gold COMEX futures opened at $1,981.30 an ounce at the start of June, and our last trading at $1,933.60. The full impact of the situation in Russia remains uncertain, and a reaction could still come. The armed uprising by Yevgeny Prigozhin's Wagner mercenary group against the Russian military over the weekend has dealt a heavy blow to President Putin and exposed cracks in the regime, said Capital Economics senior emerging markets economist Liam Peach. Peachy, just peachy. There are a lot of unknowns about how things will play out at this point. Yeah. A lot of attention was also being given to how this affects the war in Ukraine. Peach added there's a potential for a resolution, but the risk tilts toward Russia devoting more resources to the war to appease militarist factions. While a full blown war economy looks unlikely, a larger war effort could still threaten the unstable equilibrium that has been able to preserve macroeconomic stability in Russia, he said Monday. In response to the events in Russia, gold had paused the sellout, finding support for the time being. Yeah. Gold and silver are on sale. It is an excellent time to buy both. The market analysts are apparently a little bit mentally deficient when it comes to figuring out what is an interesting game of poker versus what is an actual problem. So that's totally understandable here. Switzerland launches CBDC trial, and China expands the digital yuan to commodities markets. Speaking of this whole digital central bank thing going on here, the Central Bank of Switzerland is preparing to issue a wholesale central bank digital currency on the country's sixth digital exchange as part of an upcoming pilot project, a representative from the bank announced Monday. According to a report from Reuters, Thomas Jordan, chair of the Swiss National Bank, announced the upcoming pilot project at the Point Zero Forum in Zurich on Monday. This is not just an experiment, he said. It will be real money equivalent to bank reserves, and the objective is to test real transactions with market participants. Now, mind you, they're doing this at the wholesale level to start, but that's not good either. An exact date for the pilot was not provided, but Jordan said it will start soon and will take place for a limited time. The trial will focus on exploring a wholesale CBDC, which the bank uses to settle interbank transfers and related wholesale transactions in central bank reserves. A retail CBDC would be used by the general public to conduct daily transactions, but at this time, SNB is only exploring the use of a wholesale. Jordan said the SNB has concerns related to the potential risks that a retail CBDC poses to the country's financial system, noting they're more difficult to control. We do not exclude that we will never introduce retail CBDCs, but nevertheless, we're a bit prudent at the moment, he said. SNB Governor Andrea Michler said while the bank is exploring the use of digital fiat, cash will continue to play a significant role in Switzerland. How nice of them. It is the one way retail households can hold central bank money, she said. That feature needs to be maintained irrespective of technology. Well, if it were money, that would actually be advantageous. It isn't. It's fiat currency, i.e., debt instruments just like ours. Okay. According to data from cbdctracker.org, note that address, cbdctracker.org.
If these governments go to CBDC, they have to do blockchain, right? Which is every windmill on the planet going to be completely sucked up just doing blockchain?
Don't ask.
Yeah.
Until they figure that note that address, cbdctracker.org. Very good information over there. There are currently more than 110 countries around the world exploring the creation of a CBDC, with the majority currently in the research and pilot phases. China is the global leader in development of CBDCs, with the pilot program for the digital yuan currently being tested in 17 provinces across the country, including 36 large cities and 5.6 million merchants. Evidence the pilot project for digital yuan continues to expand was released on Monday, with the Shanghai Clearinghouse, a financial services clearing counterparty under China's central bank, announcing the start of digital yuan clearing and settlement services for trading in commodities, making another significant step in the institutional adoption of China's CBDC. According to the Monday announcement from the Shanghai Clearinghouse, which handles bonds, interest rates, foreign exchange, credit, and commodities, the new service allows users to make cross-bank clearings and settlements on commodities with the digital yuan. No fees charged for services for the time being, according to a notice on the website. Dong Zhangjing, director of Finance and Securities Institute of the Wuhan University of Science and Technology, told the Global Times the service will make cross-border settlements of bulk commodities more secure, faster, more efficient, and more cost-effective for financial institutions and service providers. China is now the world's largest buyer of a number of commodities, Dong added, so the move is expected to help facilitate the internationalization of Chinese currency and provide the world with a trusted clearance system. Really now. The process will not be completed overnight, but China is relatively advanced in this field, Dong said. Translation. They're a lot further along than he says, but it's buggy and spy ridden. Just so you know. He added the future development of the ECNY depends on strong technological support, research and development, expansion and promotion in encryption technology, artificial intelligence, and digital security. The digital yuan is also being tested with Hong Kong's faster payment system, FPS, according to Chan Mo Po, Finance Secretary of the Hong Kong Special Administrative Region. Chan said the trial being conducted by HKSAR and the People's Bank of China has entered the second phase of testing, which will explore the use of FPS to refill digital yuan wallets so Hong Kong residents can use the currency on the mainland in the future. Meanwhile, yes, indeed, in the United States, it's beginning to dawn on the federal government that developing a CBDC is something that they're probably not smart enough to do. So, of course, they asked a whole lot of our banks to come up with their own great, amazing pilot ideas to be presented to the government so the government can adopt one of them. And yeah, it looks like there's a little wrangling going on behind the scenes. They're trying to decide whether the U.S. Treasury or the Internal Revenue Service or perhaps the Department of Commerce, I believe, that's one of the other names in the hat, is going to be partnering with the Federal Reserve and the rest of the banking cartel when it comes to this monstrosity. This, ladies and gentlemen, is why you must use real fiat, the physical folding kind that you hold in your hand at every opportunity. Do not allow anybody to take away your option to use fiat. The only way to make sure they don't take away physical fiat at this point, not that they're not going to try, is if enough of us are using it at every opportunity. Unbank thyself, lest thy fiat go poof, and then use your fiat. Insist on it, because this stuff is important.
Okay, I have a kind of a technical question here, and I know you looked up, you researched the whole digital currencies and stuff
Mm-hmm,
years ago.
mm-hmm,
Now, as I understood it, these digital currencies like Bitcoin, etc., they
mm-hmm.
rely on blockchain technology,
Yes.
which relies on lots of calculations.
Mm-hmm. That is called proof of work.
Okay. Now, it was also my understanding that the deeper you get into this, the more calculations it requires to continue.
Yeah.
And
Proof of work is
I'm wondering, at what point does the calculation of the proof of work of all these proposed central bank digital currencies exceed the power supply of the entire planet?
no idea. But this is the good part. They've already figured out the way around this.
Okay.
Proof of work is initially how blockchain started
Uh-huh.
because it was fully decentralized. It meant that even though your ledger is absolutely open, there are copies of it everywhere. Everybody can see what the hell is going on, fully transparent. You absolutely know this fake thing exists.
Okay.
This imaginary thing exists because it's been proven to exist by multiple different people.
Okay.
Then you have what's called proof of stake. Proof of stake was a different iteration where you can just show that people have invested in a project. They have made a stake using fiat. And so there's only one entry, and everybody doesn't have to do the math. The energy requirements on a proof of stake thing are a lot smaller than they are on a proof of work. Now, the governments, in their infinite wisdom, who have the central bank digital currency thing going on, have decided that none of this is necessary. What is going to happen here is unlike Bitcoin, where they said there will only ever be X number of Bitcoins produced, and every time you use it, it subdivides into smaller fractions. Okay. But there are only ever X number of Bitcoins that are whole.
Okay.
That's why at the moment you have to work forever to get one whole Bitcoin. Because very limited number. Proof of stake, it was a lot easier to inflate things because you could, with a few entries of code and an announcement and asking for investments, you could make a whole bunch more of the same thing.
Now, what, if any, verification that even these stakes are there is there?
Trust in the ledgers on the blockchain. Trust in the ledgers on the blockchain and the smart contracts.
Okay. So basically, because they say so.
Yeah, basically because hundreds of thousands to millions of strangers have looked at the information and say yes, the information is there. It actually exists. Trust me on this, dude. If you thought that people had more faith in fiat than they do in God, there are people who have more faith in crypto than they have in fiat. Okay, which is really scary.
Because it seems to me that
But anyway, you're getting off the topic here.
CBDC is
The
about as related to fiat as fiat is
Yeah,
to real money.
the government, in its infinite wisdom, is now saying that they don't have to do any of that because full faith and credit of the United States says that they can say there is however much money as there is money, and it's automatically and absolutely 100% there. And well, there's a whole bunch of other stuff involved, but it's looking sketchier by the day. Okay, because we now have more than one government involved here that's looking at the energy load and saying, well, it's simple. We'll just list the zeros and ones in our computer files and transfer them back and forth the way banks do now. That takes no power at all. So, yeah, you don't need all that stuff.
Because trillions of dollars in wealth with no security poses no issues whatsoever, huh?
Well, of course not.
Okay. Just checking.
The full faith and credit is it. Where is that Federal Reserve note? Hello. It says right on it.
Well, see, I was just.
Along with In God We Trust.
I was thinking that perhaps the innovative capacity of the human mind might take advantage of some weakness in such a system to the extent that certain people would attempt to divert resources to themselves at the expense of other people.
Well, of course not. That's why the IRS is in the process of trying to deal with this. Because the thing is, I know you're going to find this very hard to believe, and I know you'll really find this hard to believe.
Okay, yeah.
The government doesn't care who diverts resources from whom, as long as the government gets their share of said resources, and the government holds the ultimate power to take everybody's resources with a few strokes on the keyboard.
Mm-hmm. Now,
so you know that as long as the criminal pays taxes, have you read your tax book lately? It says right in there you have to declare all income, including, for instance, donating plasma, if you're a drug dealer.
Legal and illegal, yes.
Yeah, now, you must declare all income.
Okay, well, I have another question.
Yep, exactly, Shaggy.
Now, it occurs to me that the functioning of these central bank digital currencies would tend to be rather dependent upon the internet, which NASA says is likely to go into substantial and extended disruptions in the near future. Am I mistaken on that, or?
No, you're not. They still haven't explained exactly what's going to happen. It is the goddess's belief that they will probably use the crash of the internet and the crash of the banking system along with it as an excuse to issue the new dollars, the new yen, the new ruble, the new whatever your currency is in your country, and devalue your currency, add a couple of zeros to it, and tell you have to turn in your fiat for the new fiat, and the new fiat will be on a chip, and the new fiat on the chip will become useful when you're all on the verge of starvation and they bring the internet back online very coincidentally while looking like heroes. This is kind of like those arsonists that start fires in buildings and then are fighting the fires when the fire department shows up.
You mean like that wildland firefighter in Arizona?
Yeah.
Who was tired of being out of work, so he started the rodeo fire so that he could get some work.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, that's basically the thing. This is why you must fight digital everything as hard as you possibly can, because we're talking a total and complete lack of privacy. We're talking the ability to tax and or confiscate what little you have at any time with very, very minimal effort. We are talking really, really bad shit. And what it finally comes down to is what always comes down to. If you don't hold it, you don't own it.
Well, one final question. What could possibly go right under these circumstances?
Absolutely nothing for normal people. Now, for governments, I'm sure they'll find it very useful.
I think they will for a very short time until the whole system comes crashing down, and then they're starving and dodging bullets.
You keep thinking those happy thoughts. I love that happy thought. And yeah, Patrick, they will Canadian trucker you to death. If you don't hold it, you don't own it. Bye.
Oh. Well, on that sobering note, that's why we are interested in gold and silver.
Well, yeah, that's why anybody's interested in gold and silver. It's real money.
Oh, Shaggy's making advances again. He says, "Have a good one, Eva." Yeah.
Coincidentally, the goddess has absolutely no sympathy for the wacko billionaire idiot that got himself imploded in that really stupid sub. But we should give him at least a half a moment of silence because, coincidentally enough, like the bankers that perished on the original Titanic, he was a sound money advocate. Wanted to return to a silver and gold standard. Go figure.
Anyhow, yeah, say, I think the Titan submersible situation is a good example of people who know better that are given some level of ability to affect things. Now, luckily, it was very small, and luckily, he was affected as permanently as anyone else who was actually affected. But it's that hubris, the human arrogance, that gets us in deep, deep doo doo on a regular basis. So, anyhow, the problem with centralization is everyone's in the same boat. With a decentralized system, yes, there's a greater chance that somebody is going to drown, but there is never a chance that everybody's going to drown. On the other hand, when everything is compelled to use one particular system, like a central bank digital currency, if that fails, everything fails. Therein lies the problem with the fallacy of the efficiency of centralization. It works great until it collapses and everyone dies. So these are the two competing philosophies out there, and we'll just have to see how it turns out. But it's the only game in town, so do the best you can to take care of yourself and your family. Be prepared and position yourself to be as safe and useful as possible. The person who can do the most and be valuable to the most number of people is the one that's most likely to eat. By the way, Shaggy, I'm not sure what this "she's my grandmother" means, but I presume that means she's a lot older than you. You're a young whippersnapper. Uh-huh. Uh-huh. See? Told you. I'm the maintenance is going up on this older model here. You know, it's that's a dangerous time. So anyhow,
Dude, I have already told you. If I am unfortunate enough that something happens to you and I am left alone and bereft, all of these opportunistic males are going to disappear in a cloud of dust. That's the way it works.
well, as long as it's gold dust. But anyhow, or silver dust in your case. Centralization of anything is not corruption, but it breeds corruption. Absolutely. You know, power corrupts, absolute power corrupts absolutely. So say when you have centralization, you are creating the conditions which inevitably lead to corruption. Not that decentralization is corruption proof either. Anyhow, back to mining here. For those who have showed up late, looking at my thing. One, the regenerated resin does not seem to be recovering as much gold per pound as the original resin. It seems to be somewhere in the neighborhood of 20 to 25%, but we're still getting better details on that. By mining the dump and screening it, we were able to get a full load in essentially record time. And knocking it down the hill worked pretty darn easily. Gravity works. And another thing that was very interesting was, where am I? There we go. We had this hillside, steep hillside, and we had this dump up here. So as I knocked this down and started it rolling, because this hillside was like this before, and this had been removed. So now once I started it rolling, what was happening was this area here was fine because the bigger rocks would hit this and roll all the way to the bottom and go out here. So you wind up with bigger rocks down here, smaller rocks in here, and fines in here. So this material here was almost completely screened already. I mean, I would throw 5 shovelfuls on that screen and wind up with, I don't know, that much gravel at the end, you know. I'm blaming it on the resin not being thoroughly and completely stripped and regenerated. Okay. At this point, John, that is my assumption. It's the stripping process is getting the gold off, or at least the majority of the gold off, but it is not stripping the other things which are also occupying binding sites. And so then when you put it back into circuit, I'm not sure, but it seems like Rock Butcher's analyses, wherever it was here, come on. Those are the direct analysis. Come on. Why can't anyone make a simple filing cabinet that works well? Okay. So Rock Butcher's analysis using the XRF indicated that roughly, very roughly, just looking at this, 1/4 of the binding sites appeared to be filled with gold, whereas the other 3/4 or thereabouts were filled with other stuff, copper, lead, iron, stuff like that. Okay. Now, assuming that we recovered the gold, but did not get rid of the other stuff, then we may have a situation where we're only freeing up that roughly 1/4 of the binding sites. And now we start out with a bunch of binding sites. I think that's 12. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. How many are we going to need here? Okay, well, that's close enough. So 1/3 of these, or 1/4 would be this. Okay, So these we free up. These have gold. And these have other. So then these are the only ones that are still free. So when we go to start filling these up, then, these fill up with other, and only this one can get gold. That's what I'm suspecting is happening. No proof, no hard evidence at this time, but it makes perfect sense. And that's why we're saving the resin, because the particular stripping solution that we're using is designed for gold and precious metals. You may be able to strip it, all this other stuff, much better using something else. So we'll see. We'll keep the resin and not do anything with it for now. Again, nice project for wintertime. When we tried using the sodium hydroxide, it didn't seem to do a heck of a lot. But we shall play a few games and see what we come up with here. But right now, it's not busy time. Yeah, that's a winter job. We found a mineralized zone. It looks to be decomposing bedrock. This is fresh out of the ground, basically. And it's in an area that has hydrothermal gold veins. So the assumption is that there's a significant possibility this is actually potentially a low-grade gold ore. We will find out. That's why it's in the bag. It's a sample. We mentioned that water courses tend to follow fault lines. Fault lines break the rock. They allow solutions to come in and partially dissolve and weaken the rock, things like that. So it's not unusual at all to have a water course eroding a fault zone. The alternative is a fault zone can have solutions in it that put really hard rock in there, like quartz, and then you can have a ridge that's formed by that. So you're looking for ridges and you're looking for water courses. Those are the areas that are most likely to be mineralized, everything else being equal. And Tricky Dicky is busy doing some engineering type stuff in the Philippines, and he's building a digester to make methane gas. So I'm not sure exactly why they need to do this, but he seems to think it's a good idea, so I'll go with that. Sounds like a great plan to me. So anyhow, I want one. So that's what's going on there. I explored the bottom of the 4-center decline, and we got it sampled. We have no idea how the samples are going to run.
And I had a good idea.
What?
I got you your hammer when you forgot it.
Yeah. Eva also figured out a way to lower me a hammer when I got all the way down there and found out I forgot the hammer.
Me having good ideas that work is pretty unusual.
Not really. You're pretty good at that. Thank you, Shaggy. So that was our week. During the week this week, we're going to be doing a new tank of ore at the mill. We're going to be stripping another 3 cartridges of resin at the mill. We're going to be doing some more loading of cartridges of resin at the mill, and a few other little experiments too. Then this weekend, we're going up to Top of the Hill project, doing some more sampling and exploration up there. And then the weekend after, we should be up at, let's see, what are we at right now? We're 26th. So we're there. And
I have a doctor's appointment in a couple of weeks.
yep, right in the middle of when Walt shows up. We got that's going to
It's
be
in
the
Missoula.
next one will be yeah, I know, I see it, little one. It says Fox.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
And so then we'll be going to the Montana B again. By then we'll have the assays from the stuff we took this trip. And so that's basically our plans for the near future. Keep loading tanks of ore at the mill as fast as we can get material to process. And I also still need to finish the rebuild on the RC46. Friend of my builder just trying to top of his bus. Huh. Cool. I need advice on working material with a high clay content. Now the question is internal. Is this for is this hard rock or is this placer? Because it's going to be different depending upon which it is. Placer, wasn't it salt that they used to break the clay up?
I believe it was salt.
I think it was salt, placer. Okay. I think it was actually salt they used to help break the clay up.
Let's find out.
And your screening might likely be better done with a trommel than a vibrating screen because you need to break those clay clods up. So you want that grinding action of the trommel as opposed to just shake out the big stuff of a vibrating screen. I don't know. Is Chris even still here? I know Jim hasn't showed up yet. Let me see if Jim is available here. Let's see, what did I call him? Yep, there it is. I'm having trouble switching channels compared to what I used to. Yeah. Nobody there. Hey, Jim. Got a question on the live stream here. He says, any advice for working material with a high clay content? So ideally you would pile it up and let it weather for a year. And salt is also helpful. Would that be to the soil or to your water, your processed water? Mm-hmm. Okay. So the most important thing is slack it, although you can put some salt on it at the time. Okay. And okay, without it, the clay balls basically picking up the gold. Yeah. I know there was something they used to call clay buster, but I have no idea what it was. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So the best way is just stack it for the year ahead. Yep. Okay, so let it dry out, let it freeze, let it thaw, all this other stuff. Okay. Honey Bunny was saying sodium hydroxide and soda ash breaks up clay pretty easy if you're not pre-grinding it. Okay. Okay, so for small batches like cement mixer size or whatever, the salt, soda ash. Mm, okay. 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 So, okay, that's the answer. Is it the best way for a production thing is just let it weather. Okay. Okay. So when you're digging it and stacking it, you're getting air mixed in with it, and that helps things proceed. Okay. So you want to stack it kind of fluffy if at all possible, huh? Okay. Okay. So you wouldn't like want to be picking it up and putting it in a stockpile where you're running the loader higher and higher and dumping it over the edge, sort of stockpile. Yeah. So just kind of like stack big windrows with your loader, dump it, back up, dump the next one like that. Okay. Okay. All righty. He says that's what you do. Uh, let's see. Who was it? What's his name? Internal Compass. Okay. So there you go, Internal Compass. See, we need you, Jim. Okay. He says he'll be back, folks. And see he's holding his fingers up, pinky swear. See, look at my phone, pinky square. Okay. Anyhow, okay. Thank you, Jim. Appreciate it. Bye bye. You're welcome, Internal Compass. We like to help around here. That's one of the nice things about this forum. And we're not big, as you can see. We got what 10 people showing up right at the moment here, but it's a nice little community, and everyone's very helpful. And so I say, if you got a problem or somebody you know has a problem, have them check in on the Monday evening live streams, 6 o'clock Montana time. And we also generally have some really smart people, of which I don't think anybody's here right now. We got Tricky Dicky from the Philippines. We've got Rock Butcher from Ontario. He's a professional exploration geologist. We got Chris Georgie over there in California, who's kind of a modern Renaissance man.
And a rocket surgeon.
And yeah, and Lars is a rocket surgeon. So yeah, we've got a lot of smart people that and Honey Bunny, she's an engineer and chemist and has some stuff she can't even talk about in her past. There's agencies involved or something. But yeah, I'd say we got some smart people here. And if you got a problem, throw it out there. If we don't know the answer, somebody's going to start digging for an answer for you. And that's what we like to do. Oh, so let's see. Anything else? Any other questions? What about us smart asses? Well, it's better than the dumb asses. Okay, I tell you that much. Uh, but yeah, we've also got some, well, this is a small scale mining forum. Almost everyone's going to be an oddball in one way or another. But that's just that's the way it goes. You don't get into micro scale hard rock mining because um, it's not a normal personality that's attracted to this. I don't have a problem with that. I don't like being normal. Normal is average. I don't want to be average. I want to be different than average. But anyhow, so that's how we work this deal.
Is he a new person?
Yeah, I don't recall seeing him before.
Huh.
I like I like digging, honey bunny. Ever since I was a kid, I like digging holes and stuff. You know, we dig holes in the ground and make forts and things like that. So, yeah, digging dumps and screening them and things like that. Yeah, we've still got a stockpile of fine stuff out there on the dump. Um, I'm guessing we got a 300 to 500 pound head start on the next trip, right there. Plus, all the stuff we screen from the dump doesn't need to be crushed to the RC46. Uh, Gonna have to wait a second. I need to get a drink of water here. Pontificating is thirsty work.
Strictly your imagination.
But anyhow, so that's kind of what's going on right now. And when I can based on machine. Okay. And so we're having a very busy time, but I'm holding up better than I expected.
So am I.
I don't know how much you expected. Eva says she's doing good too. I know that Sunday morning I was expecting both of us to be very sore, and we were both pleasantly surprised that we weren't. I mean, I worked about a 12-hour day on Saturday. I shoveled for, I don't know, 5 hours. And then we had another, I mean, we didn't get back to what camp until 8 o'clock or something?
Yeah, something like
Something like that. Sun was getting low. That depends on what the fluids are, John. Maybe so. But anyhow, so that's good. I mean, I'm actually feeling pretty good now. Up to a couple of weeks ago, I was kind of draggy and sleepy all the time, but now I'm starting to feel fairly energetic. I'm still going to need to take the occasional fishing day or something. But what the heck?
Oh, and I'm thinking when the boys come to visit, I'd like to go to Yellowstone for a day.
For a day?
Yeah.
I'll have to leave early.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah. Yeah, he was going like early. You mean like before noon?
No, I know that.
She did pretty good on Friday. She was up and ready to go by like 10:30, which was a good thing too, because by 6 it was raining pretty good. Yeah, that's what I was thinking, honey bunny. Ethanol has a much lower viscosity than water, and therefore it must thin the blood, I would think. So, anyhow, by the way, if the computer fritzes out this time again, and it's only been twice so far this live stream, I think I'll go ahead and call it a night. But I'm not ready to. Yeah, I know it does, John, but I mean, what do scientists know anyhow, huh? Just because they've done like research and, you know, observed it 26 million times from Sunday, you know, you think that they actually know what they're talking about? Maybe. In this case, possibly. Anti-cancer? Well, I've never heard that one before, Honey Bunny, but well, that would certainly increase the sales. Maybe Bud Light could sell beer again. Oh my goodness.
They actually used to think that drinking alcohol would help you fight radiation poisoning.
I have no idea on the radiation poisoning. It's factual. Wouldn't ketones? Yeah, alcohol breaks down into ketones. Okay, because I know Eva says that the keto diet tends to be somewhat anti-cancer. I really don't know.
Yeah, like 96% or 97% of the cancers
Uh huh.
that you can get are glucophilic. They eat glucose. Only like 2% of them, and they're the rare ones, eat ketones. And they're almost all neurological or brain cancer.
Yeah.
And very rare at that.
She says the only cancers that seem to eat ketones are some of the neurological ones. Everything else, the cancer wants glucose.
That's why they use glucose in PET scans.
That's possible, Graham.
That's why they use glucose in PET scans.
Yeah, that's why they use the radioactive glucose in PET scan. Sure. Oh, cancer has to ferment glucose and glycogen. Okay, yeah, if it yeah, to utilize ketones. Oh. Ugh. What's interesting to me is how much of what we were told as youngers was settled science isn't. And I think one of the biggest ones is actually in nutrition. You know, it's interesting how they keep changing the recommendations and stuff.
Yeah, the FDA, by the way,
Uh huh.
has passed through a lot of the crazy ideas in the fake meat this week. Bill Gates is going to be celebrating.
They're doing what?
They're expanding the generally regarded as safe category
Ah,
and loosening the restrictions on franken meat,
okay.
the laboratory grown stuff.
Okay, so the lab meat is going to be officially given
Even more ubiquitous.
the blessing,
It's
huh?
been passed a bunch of FDA shit.
Okay. Gray meat. I have no idea. I'm not going to eat it, not unless
You
I'm
will eat
dying.
Z bugs and live in Z pod.
Nah, I don't think so. That's
Well, me neither.
uh, I'll eat trout before that. Uh, yeah, yeah. This whole world we're living in right now would be hilarious if it wasn't so serious. Oh my goodness. I just
Clowns.
I just can't believe how far out of touch with reality some people seem to be. And they think that by doing certain actions or saying certain things they're going to advance their cause. Can you believe they have a product now called Soylent?
Yeah. Soylent is actually a protein powder, protein shake type product. Been out for forever. And they chose the name deliberately because they liked it.
Oh,
They thought it was a nice connotation for some reason.
yeah.
But then again, I mean, what would you expect coming from a bunch of leftists?
By the way, John, I clicked on the link and I have it set up on a tab there, but I certainly can't watch it while I'm doing a live stream. But it's queued up for me. Oh my goodness.
Yeah, I mean, Soylent is indeed a thing. They liked the name. They chose it deliberately. They thought it was good for some bizarre and unaccountable reason.
That's exactly what I'm talking about. Um, it's like at one of these, was it the Gay Pride Parade or whatever, where they were chanting, "We're here, we're queer, and we're coming for your kids."
Yeah.
Now, I'm not exactly sure what they thought that was going to do in a positive note.
Quite as interesting as the group, as the nude male bicycle club that was riding in the Seattle parade this year.
Yeah, but I mean, to say we're coming for your kids is not exactly the sort of thing that's going to engender a positive reaction from most adults. Honey Bunny says the CCP calls their mass surveillance system Skynet.
Yeah. Well, actually, Starlink is Skynet. This is a known thing.
Oh, my goodness. Oh, this is hilarious. I mean, like I say, you got to basically just laugh at it because otherwise it would be too depressing. Yeah, it's kind of a shame too because my life is really starting to do fun right now. Yeah, I'm afraid you're correct, Honey Bunny. My brother was telling me some stuff about what do you call it? Artificial intelligence right now. And he's saying, it's like doubling every 3 months or something like that. It's like, yeah, what could possibly go wrong? Oh, we create something that we can't even understand that grows faster than we can keep up with the changes, and we expect something good to happen? Seems unlikely to me.
What are we going to have for dinner tonight?
I don't know, little one. You didn't ask me about dinner. You've always got pasties. You get that beef pasty in there you can eat. I'm pretty full. Possibly, John. I don't know. I mean, populations go through boom and bust cycles, and I think we're toward the end of the boom cycle here in this civilization. We'll see what happens. One thing that gives me some encouragement is there seems to be other nations around the world that are not nearly as crazy and can form the seed kernel to grow out from there, so that everyone just doesn't crash all at once necessarily. 6 eggs, 10 ounces of tuna fish, and 29 ounces of seeded tomatoes. Doesn't sound bad to me.
6 eggs and how much tuna?
10 ounces and 29 ounces of seasoned tomatoes.
Sounds good to me.
Yeah.
I mean, far more than I could personally eat, but.
Yeah. Yeah, last night we had, what do they call it? Frittata?
Yeah.
Yeah. Something like that. Hey, Chain Monska. We've pretty much gone over everything. So what do you want me to address? Quick recap of what we did over the week, or you got a particular question? What would you like to hear? Well, I guess so, Chain Monska. This is, gosh, it's 3 hours into the program already. We're focusing a little bit more on exploration this season. Last season was pretty much mining. We thought that getting deeper in the Montana B decline would get us into some pretty good ore. It hasn't happened. So we're looking around other places to see what we can find. We got some interesting possibilities. Took some samples this week. We're going to be up on top of the hill taking samples next week and kind of going from there. I think we should, in the long run, maybe explore the potentially the extension of the pack rat structure down dip and see what happens there. We might, I don't know, digging a decline is pretty slow and expensive. Maybe we can get some kind of drilling that we could do. Yeah, let us know, Chain Monska. But we shall see what we shall see. Say right now we don't have anything we know is good ore that we can get to right away. So we're spending a little more time looking around to see. There's other things we've seen before that we haven't actually done anything on to speak of. Is it me or is it? I don't know. I'm not sure what the emoticon is. Shaggy, I don't read emoticons. It'd be nice if you could Let's see what happens if I click right on it. No, it just says save image as. It'd be nice if you had like a decoding thing where you click right on the emoticon. It says decipher. Yeah, I'm a geezer, man.
Actually, there are some programs that if you hover over an emoticon and it's a common one, it'll tell you what it means.
Right now, Chain Monska, we're about I think it's 27, 28 feet deep in Montana B decline, which goes to like 170 feet. We're taking a slice off of the floor basically, and by the time we get to the 40-foot level, we should either get some better stuff or be getting kind of disappointed by then. And so we're kind of find out, did you do a chip sample all the way down? We did chip sampling every 10 feet that we took chips across the mineralized zone and sent them off for fire assay. So, and the results fluctuated normally. The fire assayer we've cross-referenced against other labs. Oh, by the way, Dave Van, he's got some samples he's going to be sending off for analysis to 3 different labs. One will be Hiddle, and then there's another 2 labs which we haven't tried. One which Jeff Williams recommended, and one which is a major lab, does big companies. So we get some more interesting comparisons there. Yeah, not generally. It fluctuated from, call it, for what we're doing, low grade ore up to some pretty darn good stuff. Oh, I'm not worried, Jim. We're having a good time. And what's the price you can put on that? But yeah, it's the thing is that the actual average ore grade seems to be more on the lower end of the spectrum of samples we got. I don't know why that is. It could be I'm getting more wall rock mixed in. Not really sure. be that as it may, um, that's the way it's been going. As a general rule, the old time miners, whenever they saw a juicy pocket, they weren't going to leave much of it left. And there's always a question as to, are we going to run into some decent pockets too? You take care, John. So, that's a question where, um, yes, we do, Chain Monska. And so we're going to try a little dowsing up there on top of the hill and some other stuff too. We're going to see what's maybe possible with some uh, geophysical stuff, magnetometers, possibly, absolutely, Honey Bunny. Um, Rock Butcher was going to talk to some people he knows and see what the most reasonable methodology would seem to be in various cases that we're dealing with. Over at Montana B, it seems like the gold is closely associated with iron, and I mean good concentrations of iron, like 30% or more. Do you ever detect? I don't have a good detector for my purposes, Graham. Um, I've got available to me a MineLab GPX 5000, which is kind of a pain in the ass to use. It's very capable machine, I'm sure, but just like putting a high-powered sniper rifle in the hands of a newbie, it's not going to do what it can do.
Hard rock. Most of our rock is too small.
Yeah. And so, and again, when you're dealing with hard rock actually in the rock, it's not the best thing because it's usually very, very, very fine. I haven't seen anything in all of the, what do you call it? In all of Montana B, all the panning I've done or everything, even of the stuff running through the sluices and when we dump the tank, yeah, nothing there would show up on uh, a metal detector. I mean, we're talking like 50 mesh is the best I've seen. Um, uh, the the guys over there at well, Adam at I Break for Bedrock, and I mean that's what they're just using detectors all the time. He suggested the Gold Monster um, because he says for a newbie it's fairly easy to use, and uh, yeah, GPX. Okay, yeah, let's say the Gold Monster is it's pretty capable, but fairly easy to use, according to him. You take care, Chain Monska. Keep it safe. And I think that's the 8,000, if I'm not mistaken. But that's what he recommended. Because again, I'm not a detector guy. I really don't like spending a lot of time digging up trash, bullets,
I will
cartridge cases. Do it. Yeah, she will. But I say we got a bunch of other stuff to look at right now. But yeah, I got no problem with the concept. But the ore at Montana B, it's being crushed, it's being tank leached, then it's run over a sluice just to make sure we're not getting any significant large gold in it. And so far, we haven't found it. We have found detectable large gold, but not that is a sufficient quantity to make it worthwhile to worry about it. Okay, Graham, thank you. So we run it through the sluice just to keep an eye on things. So that if we do sluice some stuff and all of a sudden we see a bunch of, big gold there, it's like, okay, where did we get that ore? Where did that come from? We need to start looking a little more carefully. Um, what do we generally advance the decline? About 3 feet a weekend or something?
Our average was about 1.5 to 2. It would have been more than that, except you run into the kryptonite on a regular enough basis.
Yeah. So, I say we advance a few feet, 2, 3 feet per weekend, which is how we're running the batches. So if we found something, we write down, she does, where the stuff came from that's in that batch. So if we were to suddenly, see, yeah, we got coarse gold here, we'd know where it came from with a high degree of specificity. And I say so far we haven't found any there. Top of the hill, that would be very interesting to have something like that to see, especially like residual gold in soils. And that is, uh, you know, a totally different thing. But I'm sure there'd be a lot of trash. But if Eva's happy to scan, let her scan. Absolutely.
I will be happy to do that for hours and hours and hours, dude.
Yeah. So as I'm looking,
find me a good detector.
Yeah. So looking for that because she's willing to do it, and it's a useful thing to do. But that trash just drives me crazy.
Well, like I said, we can get one of those nice Nat Geo Junior models from Walmart for $50.
Yeah, it's useless. Hello, Heather. How's it going? Oh, we've talked out the most of the important stuff at this point. If you have any questions or whatever, let us know. Aside from that, basically, we got everything lined out of Montana beef for the season, and ready to start digging down the decline again. We took some samples from a few other places. We're going to be back to top of the hill this weekend. Oh my gosh, Heather, that's horrible. Yeah, this is one of the most dangerous creatures known to mankind. And so we're working on more exploration this season. So yeah, it's a greater variety of videos. While continuing to operate the mill and gather some more data along with doing the extractions. And so we got a lot to do this season. Plus a few other special possibilities that I can't discuss at the current time, but might be kind of interesting. We shall see. I also told special possibilities about Dave Van after asking him first. So, okay, the RC46, the side plates in the jaw have gotten very worn. Right, especially right at the bottoms there. So it's allowing rocks to bypass the movable jaw plate, which they're so big that they will not go through the rollers. Plus, I mean, the side plates, they're getting kind of thin in some small places. So it basically needs some buildup, grind it down, and then a little hard facing on it, and grind it down and put it back in through. It's basically just normal wear and tear that's gotten so bad it's it really needs to be addressed. Lauren's a fantastic welder, but he's been very, very busy. So if he can't get to it by like next week, I'm just going to have to bite the bullet and do it myself. Um, oh yeah, I say he's real busy. I mean, yeah. I say if I have to do it myself, I will. He's a lot better at the job than I am. So if he had a couple of hours, he could whip it out and do a really fine job of it. Also planning on putting a shim under the toggle support um, to again close the gap on the jaws just a little bit to make up for some of the wear. Um, but that's I think secondary to the wear on the side plates. I mean, they're half-inch thick side plates, and I swear some places they're well over halfway worn through. Down at the bottom. Luckily it's only like this much area that's really badly worn, and then above it, it's less and less wear as distance goes on. But yeah, it's an issue that is getting serious. Pretty soon there's going to be holes in the side plates that make it a lot harder to fix. Exactly, honey bunny. Right at the pinch point is the maximum wear. So, as I say, we'll get it fixed one way or another. So hopefully Lauren can get to it. If you can't, and I say I've done stuff before. I'm just not as good as he is. So I can get out the buzz box and some sticks and uh, put it back in service. So say that's the thing. We shall see what we shall see. But nothing really major. It's got to be done. And it's not like you can just go down to Motion Industries and buy a new bearing and fix it, sort of thing. It's a little more um, hands-on than that. Yeah, yeah. Same with me, honey bunny. Now Lauren, on the other hand, he makes some nice-looking welds. Uh, he's pretty good welder, and I mean he can do MIG, TIG. I mean I've seen him do stuff like that. It's like, well, I got this little thing here, and I'm like, what are you gonna do? TIG it? Okay,
Lauren
nice.
is an all-around amazing person. We
Yeah.
all know that.
But anyhow, so let's say we shall see. Either way, we'll get things working and and go from there. But that's just the way things go sometimes. You do it like with the ladder track. Real quickly, we're going to run out of ladder track in the decline. We got all the parts that need to be welded together. I can do that. You know, um, Lauren's really good at it, but again, I can make it strong enough for that application. It's not like I'm building a deep sea submersible. Oh, no, the ladder track also rides the carriage, and I mean, it fulfills a number of options. I mean, not options, functions. And so it's designed to do a particular thing, and it works very well at that. Yeah, exactly. We're using round tubing on the sides, and so and it's not a big deal. Again, I know I can do that. All the pieces are cut to get us down to the 40-foot level. I'm pretty sure we got enough chunks of steel to do that. I just need a piece of flat surface I can weld on. We made 2 jigs so that we can slide them in the ends of the rails, and they got holes in it. And the rails are already cut and cross drilled and all this other stuff. So, put them in there, put some pins in so it, lines them up this way. So that when you try and pin them together going down, the pins pretty much line up. If not, 3/8 drill bit will fix it. And then just lay the rungs on the flat surface and tack it in place and go. And so I say I can do that. I have access to a MIG welder. Um, that's what I built the original ladder tracks and the head frame with. Exactly, honey bunny. Again, these are the sort of things that not huge. Say the build up on the sides of the jaw crusher housing, the side plates, that Lauren would be much better than me to do. But I say ladder track, I can do that. Well, cool, Heather. So, what do you use? Just a MIG, or do you any TIG or anything like that? Or, Lord help you, doing stick for yard art. That's usually pretty thin metal. Just MIG, yeah, it's very versatile. 110 volt or 220 box. 220, yeah. That welds up to some pretty heavy metal. If you're using multiple passes, you should be able to do what, half inch to 1 inch, somewhere in there with multiple passes. It shouldn't be hard. Yeah, they've gotten a little more portable nowadays, honey bunny. There's so many tools out there that, in the old days they had to do it the hard way, and now you just got the gizmo. You know, it's amazing. One thing that's funny to me, PEX plumbing, the semi-flexible tube and such. It works great up here because it can freeze and thaw and it won't leak. Okay, Shaggy, I thought it was somewhere around there. Thank you. But you have to have that god-awful expensive tool, so you just rent it, unless you got a whole bunch of stuff to do. But yeah, that stuff works pretty well. I've helped do a few jobs with that, and it's like, yeah, that's sweet. That's a lot easier than well, it's not a lot easier than PVC, but around here it's a lot better, and it's vastly easier than standard threaded pipe. Okay, Heather, cool. $440 of 8-gauge copper. I guess that's wire. I suppose you could cast the prongs. Yeah, that's a lot of copper. Some serious weight there. You can do stuff. Uh-huh. Yeah, that ground wire. Oh, but I say that's it. I just got more things to do than I got time to do them in. There's also a little construction project that'll take me about a day. I'm still got to get the last piece of material for that project. And then let me write that down on my list here. Counter top. Okay. Yeah, that's a lot of copper, 70 pounds. But so I got that to do too. Luckily, the person who wants me to do it is going to provide the chop saw and the pin nailer, and so far they haven't rounded them up. So once they round them up, I want to have all the materials in place, and then I can just hack into it in one day and get stuff done. If probably I need to mark and cut the countertop. Um, Actually, I'm busy doing stuff I like doing. Construction is okay, repair and remodel, but I'd rather do mining. So if they haven't got the tools for me, it's like that's okay with me. Yeah, no pressure exactly. Yeah, that RC46, that's more of a pressure project. We could have used it on the samples from Top of the Hill last time. The stuff from the decline, because I had to carry it up on my back, multiple samples. That stuff, we're just going to bust up the big stuff in the Mad Max mortar and pestle, and then split it and send off half to the fire assayer and keep the rest for ourselves. But I've got a reasonable idea about what I expect that to go, and I don't have any reason to believe it's going to be super duper good, you know. Yeah, I know, honey bunny. But so that's basically it. So once I get all the materials in place and uh, get things cut out for the sink in that countertop, get it trimmed down, then basically it's pretty easy work. I mean, I put in the baseboards in an entire level of a house. You know, I don't know how many feet, 1,200 square feet in 4 or 5 hours, and a nice job. All cut and installed and caulked. You know, so I say this project is significantly smaller than that. So it shouldn't be too bad. I say one day should do it, and it's just a matter of when I get the tools and the person says go, then I'll do it. It would be nice if I could find some good high grade ore, honey bunny. I'm getting, some decent stuff, but I wouldn't consider anything that high grade. Although some of the stuffs we've sorted out of those dumps looks pretty juicy, honest to goodness. What did you think of that one rock I showed you the broken face from? Remember, it was about that big in the bucket there. I thought that looked pretty damn juicy.
Yeah, I thought it looked, and no, I'm putting emphasis on the word looks pretty juicy.
Yeah, it looks juicy.
And bear in mind that we've had quite a few samples from there that looked juicy. They weren't cracked.
It's not like that black wall rock. I mean, that was all iron there. I'm not sure where they got. I'm thinking pack rat, because that's just so much iron there. Say I'd call it, for what we're doing, low grade. I'm not allowed to give out exact numbers. All base metal, mainly iron. This stuff was iron, dense iron oxide, fluffy iron oxide. Yeah, it was pretty serious iron. It looked like to me. Didn't try the magnet though. That would have been an interesting thing. So, as I like the exploration part too. So there's just more stuff to do than we got time to do it. So life is sweet. I don't like sitting around wondering, oh man, I'm bored. Nope. And so, yeah, it'd be interesting. Oh, well, I suppose it's late enough.
I still love Lord Malarkey's latest blunder.
What?
At that big meeting, sitting next to President Modi, talking to a whole table full of people, he went off on this whole speech about how he has sold lot of state secrets and shared a lot of state secrets with all kinds of people.
Interesting.
Yeah.
What can you say? Clown world. So, anyone got any questions or any subjects you want discussed tonight? No argument for me, honey bunny. Okay, well, I guess I'll call it a night. I appreciate everyone showing up. And again, Eva was a real trooper this week, and I'm proud of her. So happy prospecting and keep it safe out there. You take care, Heather. Nice seeing you again. Okay.